yung good sponsor po ba ay magiging bukas din sa mga amyenda na lalong palalakasin yung mga benepisyo at karapatan ng apprentices? Halimbawa, tulad ng protected leaves at saka food and travel allowances, Mr. President?
Kung sa inyo po manggagaling ang mga pag-amyenda, kahit nakapikit po ako, tatanggapin ko.
Ano ba talaga ang silbi nitong PAMBI na ito? Bakit mukhang parang display lang sila sa mga protected areas natin? Katunayan, last year, tinawag ko din po atensyon ng PAMBI dahil sa nangyari sa May Masungi Geo Reserve na matatagpuan sa Upper Marikina River Basin Protected Landscape, which is a wildlife sanctuary. Meron po kasing structure na naitayo doon dahil sa planong windmill farms. Wala pang permit pero may mga struktura na doon sa lugar. At hindi rin po nasunod ang pagkakaroon ng certification precondition mula sa National Commission on Indigenous Peoples. Hanggang ngayon, ang PAMBI ay nakanganga.
101. And also during the time of pandemic in 2021, lalo bumaba, kalahati na lang, 57. And in 2022, naging 65. 2023, 51 na lang.
Wow. Bukod sa pandemic, dun sa later years nitong period na 2018 to 2023, pwede bang mag-elaborate yung good sponsor? Bakit hindi lang relatively low, pero low yung bilang po ito, Mr.
I
President?
understand, Mr. President. The decline in number of the implementers, if I may say so, may be implemented among others to the enactment of the Create Law in 2020.
Decline in the forest cover. Ang tanong ko po, paano nakalusot itong mga illegal structures na tinawag nila? Imbis na magpatupad ng mga positibong aksyon para protektahan ang Mount Apo, sila po ay nag-implement na lamang ng band-aid solutions sa mga nakalusot na violators.
President, I move to open the period of interpellations and debate and recognize the distinguished sponsor, the chairperson of the Senate Committee on Labor, Senator Jinggoy Estrada, and to interpellate our Deputy Minority Leader, Senator Risa Hontiveros.
Hearing objection, period of interpellation is now in order. Senator Estrada and Senator Hontiveros are hereby recognized.
Salamat, Mr. President. Good sponsor, kung maaari po, bagamat medyo pagabi na, if I could ask at least half of the questions that I have for the good sponsor on the bill tonight.
My privilege, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, good sponsor. I'm of the firm belief in the importance of the passage of the National Apprenticeship Bill. Our government needs to take the lead to solve the skills mismatch issues that remain prevalent in our workforce, especially with the rapid technological advancements that come with the rise of Industry 4.0. Our education and training institutions must meet the demands of the evolving industries to ensure employment for our country's youth sector and the rest of the population. That said, I'd like to pose a few questions in relation to the bill to identify whether there are parts that can be strengthened to ensure the maximum effectiveness of this legislation and to ensure the rights of apprentices will be safeguarded. So first of all, Mr. President, good sponsor, according to the EDCOM 2 Year 1 report, enterprise-based training programs in TESDA, which include apprenticeship programs, are the least popular programs in technical, vocational education and training, despite their promising role in training apprentices to meet the demands of the relevant industries. So based on the sponsor's consultations, ano yung mga pangunahing dahilan para ang mga individual ay hindi nila pinipili na kunin yung apprenticeship program track?
Mr. President, there are several problems in the present apprenticeship system that needs to be addressed under our proposed bill, Mr. President. First is that insufficient human resource and organizational support. The management of apprenticeship programs in the country is being challenged by insufficient human resource and organizational support, Mr. President. At present, the apprenticeship programs are under the stewardship of the Partnerships and Linkages Offices of TESDA, which handles several programs and has limited employees, Mr. President. This is one of the reasons why apprenticeship is not adequately promoted in the country, and the strengthening of collaboration with enterprises is not given enough attention. And secondly, Mr. President, there's this is what you call unimplemented incentives. There's also a problem in the availment of the incentives of the enterprises because the BIR cannot specifically determine how this will be operationalized, Mr. President. And according to our resource persons from EDCOM 2, initially, what we're getting is hindi po nila talaga nakukuha yung deduction na yun sa kanilang taxable income for various reasons. And apart from this, Mr. President, the recent passage of the CREATE Law or CREATE Act limited the incentive availment to public technical vocational institutions. And thirdly, Mr. President, there's this inappropriate designation of all TESDA training regulations as apprenticeable occupations. Apprenticeable occupations right now are equivalent to approved training regulations of TESDA, Mr. President. This creates more and several problems, Mr. President. One is the approval of a training regulation that undergoes a very, very long process or tedious process that it takes about 6 months to 2 years to be approved. And second, there are currently 322 training regulations as of March 4 this year, and some of which are already outdated and are not appropriate to be made apprenticeable occupations, Mr. President. Third, not all training regulations are highly technical, such as massage therapy and beauty care services, which means that they should not be considered as apprenticeable occupations. And the last one is that there is an insufficient training period. The short duration of the apprenticeship program, which runs from 3 months and 1 day to 6 months, only may not be enough to acquire the needed competencies, especially in highly technical occupations. Mr. President, these are the major reasons why the apprenticeship program in the country is not being implemented as we intended to be, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, good sponsor, for the very informative answer. I'll be following up at least one of them a little later. Yun pong tungkol sa ang pagpasa natin ng CREATE ay inilimita effectively yung availment dito by public schools. So magtatanong din po ako tungkol sa public and private institutions in relation dito sa ating bill. But I'm glad na kahit kalahating dosena yung mga dahilan na in-identify ng sponsor, lack of awareness about the apprenticeship track is not one of them. Baka mag-propose na lang po ako ng amendment kaugnay niyan at the proper time.
You're very welcome, Mr. President.
Salamat, good sponsor. Sunod po, in TESDA's current apprenticeship program, ilang mga kumpanya ang nag-register ng kanilang apprenticeship program sa ilalim ng authority?
Mr. President, based on available records, in 2000, the number of implementers of the apprenticeship per year from 2018 to 2023, Mr. President. In 2018, there are 404. In 2019, bumaba po, naging 315. In 2020, during the time of the pandemic, 101. And also during the time of pandemic in 2021, lalo bumaba, kalahati na lang, 57. And in 2022, naging 65. 2023, 51 na lang.
Wow. Bukod sa pandemic, dun sa later years nitong period na 2018 to 2023, pwede bang mag-elaborate yung good sponsor? Bakit hindi lang relatively low, pero low yung bilang po ito, Mr.
I
President?
understand, Mr. President. The decline in number of the implementers, if I may say so, may be implemented, among others, to the enactment of the CREATE Law in 2020, Mr. President. That is what I surmise, Mr. President.
Alright. So, strike 2 na, at least dito sa ating interpellation, yung epekto o unintended consequence man ng CREATE Law. Kanina, kaugnay ng mga individual o mas maraming individual na hindi nag-opt na kunin yung apprenticeship program track. At ngayon, pati yung mababang bilang ng mga kumpanya na nag-register ng kanilang apprenticeship programs.
But I would
sa
like to
ilalim ng
remind the
TESDA.
gentlelady that I was not yet a senator when the CREATE Law was passed.
Isasama ko na pong sarili ko sa mea culpa na ito kung sakali.
You were not a senator yet?
I was po. Apo. Salamat, good sponsor. Dako naman po dito, as of October 2023, 11.7% of youth were not in education, employment, or training, o NEET, no? NEET. I've always had the firm belief that apprenticeship programs are vital, especially for youth not in education, employment, or training. It gives these youth the opportunity to hone their skills and increase their competitiveness in the job market. This bill reaffirms that those 15 years old and above can participate in apprenticeship programs. May datos po ba yung good sponsor sa percentage ng mga kumpanyang registered sa TESDA na bukas mag-hire ng apprentices below 18 years old pero 15 years old and above? At data din po sa kabukasan nitong mga kumpanya sa non-high school graduates.
Mr. President, I'm afraid that I do not have the data. According to the officials of the TESDA, they do not have any data available right now, Mr. President.
Hopefully, good sponsor, bago matapos yung ating deliberation sa bill na ito, meron pong mapadala po sa atin para magamit sa papaganda lalo ng panukalang ito.
Well, if I may, Mr. President, according to our resource persons here from TESDA, they cannot disaggregate the minors, the 15 years old, below 15 years old, and those above 18 years old, Mr. President.
I see. That's regrettable, good sponsor, dahil pati yung kasunod kong tanong ay kaugnay sa age group na ito, at palagay ko mahalagang may pag-disaggregate hindi lang ng datos tungkol sa kanila pero ng mga probisyon ng ating panukala kaugnay nila. And just to make that concrete, ito nga po yung susunod kung tanong, kung itong panukala natin na nagpapayag sa mga minors age 15 to 19 na lumahok sa apprenticeship programs, titiyakin po ba ng panukala natin yung patuloy na pag-enforce ng mga existing child labor protection laws na dinisenyo natin para bantayan yung kanilang mga karapatan, Mr. President?
Yes, definitely. Yes, we are bound by the Labor Code of the Philippines, Mr. President.
Alright. Kung ganon, good sponsor, lalong kinakailangan na yung TESDA ay makapagbigay sa atin ng datos patungkol dito sa mga 15 to 17-year-old apprentices or potential apprentices para nga po mas matalas nating makita or maipanukala ang mga amyenda tungkol sa kanila dito sa ating panukala.
Yes, they will
Mr.
try
President.
their very best to collate all the data that you need, Mr. President.
Maraming salamat para dyan, good sponsor. Ngayon, not only do apprentices reap the benefits of learning from the companies they choose to do their apprenticeships in, companies also greatly benefit from apprentices' contribution through their work and skills. So I commend this bill, good sponsor, for
Thank you, Mr.
containing
President.
provisions that safeguard and uphold the rights of apprentices. At yung good sponsor po ba ay magiging bukas din sa mga amyenda na lalong palalakasin yung mga benepisyo at karapatan ng apprentices, halimbawa tulad ng protected leaves at saka food and travel allowances, Mr. President?
Kung sa inyo po manggagaling ang mga pag-amenda, kahit nakapikit po ako, tatanggapin ko.
Maraming salamat sa nakakatakot na sagot, good sponsor.
Dahil malaki po ang aking tiwala sa inyo.
Maraming salamat po. Magsusumika po akong wag samantalahin po yung napakabait na sagot ng good sponsor, Mr. President. At siguro, in the interest of time, dahil mag-aalas 8 na po ng gabi, huling tanong para ngayong gabi, good sponsor, bago ko suspindihin pansamantala yung aking interpellation. Under this proposed bill, may mga fees po ba para sa isang enterprise na magrehistro sa TESDA para maka-offer ng apprenticeship programs, Mr. President?
TESDA Circular Number 120, series of 2020. If I may read, Mr. President, the implementing guidelines for apprenticeship does not use apprenticeship fee. What is used is registration fee, which is the amount collected from the enterprise for every apprenticeable occupation registered with TESDA. The fee is collected only once at the time of application for registration and costs 2,000 pesos. TESDA merely serves as a collecting agent, Mr. President. The collection is remitted to the National Treasury and is subject to the one fund policy, Mr. President.
Salamat, good sponsor. Kahit sa ganitong registration fee, aasahan po ba no yung kumpanya ang magfu-fully pay ng reg fee na ito? Or mangyayari ba na yung kumpanya ay kayang ipa-shoulder sa apprentices?
Hindi po, ang kumpanya po
gastos?
magbabayad.
Hindi, okay
Sino
po.
pong wala?
Alright. Maraming salamat po, good sponsor. So, yun po yung kalahati muna ng aking mga tanong. At
Pwede
maraming
nyo
salamat.
dagdagan kahit para matapos na ho tayo ng konti. Kahit mga 3 tanong pa.
sige, 3 pa po. Then,
Para hindi na ho pabalik-balik yung ating
okay po.
kasi wala ho silang pangbayad ng taxi. Ako po ang babayad.
Okay po, Mr. Sponsor. Sige po, 3 pa. bago ako mag-suspend. On the topic of costs, my office has heard of complaints by apprentices who were not given training allowances and even had to pay for the training component of their apprenticeship programs. Under this bill, some of the apprenticeship models that companies can adopt include a partnership with a training institution or an industry training center. Based on this bill, sino po magko-cover ng costs niyang partnership sa training institution o industry training center? And at the proper time, magiging bukas ba ang sponsor tumanggap ng amyenda para siguruhin na yung mga apprentices ay hindi sila po ang obligahing bayaran itong mga costs?
Yes, I will accept your amendment in the proper time. But for now, I think it is still the company who has to pay for it, Mr. President.
Salamat both para sa assurance na iyon, good sponsor, at the same time yung kabukasan na mag-consider ng further amendment para lalong higpitan po iyan na siguradong hindi po yung mga apprentices ang magbabayad po niyan.
Katulad nga po ng sinabi ko sa inyo kanina, malaki po ang aking tiwala sa inyo. Kahit anong amenda ang ilatag niyo po dito sa batas na ito ay aking tatanggapin.
Okay, maraming salamat po, good sponsor. Ngayon po, in the National Apprenticeship Program, ito po yung kaugnay nung isa sa unang pagbanggit ninyo sa naging epekto po ng pagsasabatas ng Create Law. Dito sa National Apprenticeship Program, pareho po bang public and private companies ang eligible na lumahok sa programa o limitado lamang po ba ito sa private sector?
Pareho po, both
Pareho.
po,
Okay.
public and private.
Alright. Salamat, good sponsor, Mr. President. And, yun na nga po. Huli po para sa ngayong gabi, under Section 22, the Bipartite Enterprise Apprenticeship Committee will have the initial responsibility to settle differences concerning the apprenticeship agreement between the apprentice and the concerned company. As per Section 4E, the Bipartite Enterprise Apprenticeship Committee is established by the company itself with representatives of labor and management. I believe that this arrangement could make apprentices vulnerable since the very company that may be violating the apprenticeship agreement will be the same company that will be expected to settle the issues and can also choose labor representatives who align with their interests. Sumasang-ayon ba ang good sponsor na yung ganitong klaseng arrangement maaring vulnerable sa dominance ng mga interes ng kumpanya, Mr. President?
Yes, Mr. President, and in due time we will accept your amendments if there are any, Mr. President.
Alright, maraming salamat, good sponsor. Paghahandaan ko na po iyan. So, para ngayong gabi, yan na muna po, good sponsor, Mr. President. Maraming salamat.
Ginoong Pangulo, pwede ho magtanong? Ilan lang po ang tanong niya?
Apat pa po, Mr.
Baka
President.
gusto niyo mong tapusin unless gusto niyo na muna. Or bukas na lang po.
Kung okay lang po sa good
Okay lang
sponsor,
po.
kahit bukas na lang po at
Kung
kakaunti na lamang.
Kung ano po ang gusto niyo, susundin ko po.
Alright, maraming salamat po, good sponsor.
Thank you, Mr. President.
At Mr. President. Thank you. So, nabawasan na po ng isa. So, 3 na lamang po bukas. Salamat po, good sponsor. Maraming salamat po, Mr. President.
Senator Raffy Tulfo, who is availing of the privilege hour. I so move, Mr. President.
The objection, there being none, Senator Raffy Tulfo is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, when it comes to the environment and our natural resources, we have to remember that we cannot turn back time. Pag nangyari na, nangyari na. Ang hirap bawiin ng mga nasisira sa ating kalikasan. Where am I coming from? Last week, we were all shocked to see photos and videos of a resort in the middle of the Chocolate Hills Nature Park in Bohol. Captain's Peak Resort had multiple pools, villas, and slides embedded on the hill. If you've been to Bohol and have seen the untouched beauty of the Chocolate Hills, magagalit po talaga kayo. I took up this concern in my radio program last Thursday. After the show was aired and streamed online, ang dami po akong nakuhang sumbong ng iba pang mga tourist sites at protected area na di nababantayan ng maayos. Pero naalarma po ako na may isang mountaineering group na tinawag ang atensyon ko sa nangyayari sa Mount Apo from the tiny hill ng Davao. From the tiny hills in Bohol, nais ko po dumako sa Mount Apo ng Davao. Ayon sa kanila, madami din resorts ang naglipana sa Mount Apo National Reserve sa Digos side. Ito na po ang Twin Mountain View Resort, Montefrio Resort at Villa Recurso. Labas na sa buffer zone ang mga ito. Kung pagbabasyan po ay ang nakita namin sa Google Earth and comparing it with the map of Mount Apo. I am concerned about this because just last year, President Bongbong Marcos Jr. ordered the preservation of Mount Apo as it vies for its inclusion in the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization, or UNESCO, the list of World Heritage Sites. This statement of President BBM was sometime in October 2023. At dahil dito, parang nasilaban ang mga upuan ng mga taga PAMBI o Protected Area Management Board ng Mount Apo. By November 2023, agad silang nagpatawag ng meeting upang aksyonan daw ang mga illegal structures without permits in the multiple use zones of Mount Apo and look into decline in the forest cover. Ang tanong ko po, paano nakalusot itong mga illegal structures na tinawag nila? Imbis na magpatupad ng mga positibong aksyon para protektahan ang Mount Apo, sila po ay nag-implement na lamang ng ban-aid solutions sa mga nakalusot na violators. Nung tinawagan po namin itong chairperson ng PAMBI, si Attorney Mercedes Dumagan, sa Mount Apo, ang sabi niya, may action plan na daw po silang phase out in 2 years. Ito po yung action plan nila. Phase out in 2 years. Ibig sabihin, bibigyan po ng 2 years na palugit ito mga illegal structures and occupants sa strict protected zone. Bakit hindi agad-agad? Bakit mag-aantay pa tayo ng 2 years at alam naman natin na yun ay illegal na mga structures at meron ng order sa Presidente? Mr. President, noong 2018 nagkaroon ng survey ang Protected Area Superintendent ng mga illegal establishments at plantations sa Mount Apo. Pero 5 taon nang nakalipas, hindi pa din naalis ng lubusan ng mga structures at bibigyan pa sila ng 2 years phasing out period. In 2020, the Mindanao Development Authority flagged illegal mining operations and illegal cutting of hardwood trees inside the Mount Apo protected area. It was confirmed at that time that local officials, protected by some army soldiers, were behind the mining and clearing operations of forest areas. Ginagawa nila ito upang maglagay ng banana plantation. Marami pang problema ang bumabagabag sa Mount Apo. Tulad na lang ng land conversion for settlements, water pollution, introduction of foreign exotic species, presence of large communities, increasing population, destructive and an inappropriate livelihood and poverty in the area. Ano ba talaga ang silbi nitong PAMBI na ito? Bakit mukhang parang display lang sila sa mga protected areas natin? Katunayan, last year, tinawag ko din po atensyon ng PAMBI dahil sa nangyari sa May Masungi Geo-Reserve na matatagpuan sa Upper Marikina River Basin Protected Landscape, which is a wildlife sanctuary. Meron po kasing structure na naitayo doon dahil sa planong windmill farms. Wala pang permit pero may mga struktura na doon sa lugar. At hindi rin po nasunod ang pagkakaroon ng certification precondition mula sa National Commission on Indigenous Peoples. Hanggang ngayon, ang PAMBI ay nakanganga at tila hindi alam kung anong gagawin. Samantala, sa San Marcelino, San Narciso at San Felipe Zambales, may mga nagaganap na seabed quarrying and onshore black sand mining na pinayagan ng DNR. Ang dalampasigan na ito sa Zambales ay pinagkukuhanan po ng hanap buhay ng maraming mga bangus fish fry farmers. Sila may kumikita ng 5,000 hanggang 13,000 pesos per day. Pero ngayon, nanganganib po ito dahil sa quarrying at black sand mining. Tourist destination din po ito para sa mga surfing community. Pero nababaliwala po ito. Ang mga Environmental Compliance Certificate o ECC ay na-issue online. Online po ang pag-i-issue na ngayon, mabilisan na. Without the conduct of site visits or verification of data on the ground or to fact-checking with local stakeholders. The problem, Mr. President, is turuan ang kalakaran pagdating sa ating pangangalaga ng kalikasan. Naging pastime na po ng DNR ang magtututuro. Nakakapikon kasi we enacted several laws mandating several agencies, including our LGUs, to ensure that our protected areas are preserved. Pero imbis na madami ang nagbabantay, lahat ay nagtuturuan lang kung sino ba talaga may kasalanan. Tila baga nagiging bantay sa lakay sila. Ang LGU, tinuturo ang DNR na nag-issue ng ECC. Ang DNR naman, tinuturo ang LGU na nag-issue ng business permit. Ang PAMBI, samantala, tinuturo ang indigenous peoples dahil sila daw ang namamahala sa ancestral lands. Ang IPs, tinuturo naman ang PAMBI na hindi naman daw sila kinukonsulta. Ano ba talaga, kuya? Sino ba talaga sa inyo? In the end, sinong gumagawa ng trabaho ng gobyerno? Ang taong bayan. Mukhang tila ang netizens ang mas masipag magbantay. Ito mga non-government organizations or NGO na very passionate with our environment, ang isa po sa mga nagbabantay. It is very embarrassing that those who we authorize to protect our environment are the number one violators dahil sa kanilang kapabayaan or sadyang pagpikit sa mga bagay-bagay na nangyari sa kanilang ahensya. Nagtatanga-tangahan po sila or tanga sila sa ngalan ng salapi. Mr. President, the Expanded National Integrated Protected Area Systems or INIPAS Act of 2018 law provides for special prosecutors and retained counsels for violation of the INIPAS law. Ang tanong ko, may mga nakasuhan na ba ng mga violation ng INIPAS Act? Meron na bang napanagot? Ito mga pabayang government officials, mukhang wala pa rin po. Mukhang inutil po itong batas na ito. I'm sorry, pero yan po ang nakikita ko unless they can prove that they're not and show ng mga ebidensya na they're acting they're doing actions against all these violators, especially itong special prosecutors and retained counsels for violations of INIPAS Act. Mr. President, I commend my colleague Senator Nancy Binay for immediately filing a resolution calling for the legislative inquiry on the matter concerning Chocolate Hills. I hope that we could also look into other nature reserves and parks that are also being overlooked by the DNR. Lalo na po itong Mount Apo. Tama na po ang turo-turuan. Dapat po, akuan ng obligasyon. Kasi sino po ba ang may kinabang kundi tayong lahat din naman. Ang ating mga anak, apo at susunod na henerasyon. Maraming salamat po, Mr. President.
Thank you. Maraming salamat, Senator Tulfo. Meron din akong idudulog. Baka pwede nyo rin isama yung sa Upper Marikina River Basin Protected Watershed na bandang Sierra Madre dahil ako po nagmomotocross dyan. Dapat yan protected watershed ng Sierra Madre pero may mga gwardiya na, may mga bakod na at ayaw na kami papasukin. So we should learn from the lessons of Ondoy. Senator Raffy, no? Pakisama nyo na rin po ito dahil ako mismo ay naka-experience, hindi kami pinapapasok, dapat po nakakaikot kami sa Sierra Madre.
Tama ka, Mr. President. Yan yung Masungi Geo-Reserve.
Ito po yung sa Tanay yung Masungi, pero ito po sa
iba pa.
Antipolo, Sierra
Antipolo
Madre
naman.
mismo.
Sige.
Sierra Madre
Investigate.
mismo ito, Sen. Raffy, para magandang
Thank you, Mr.
matin.
President.
Thank you po.
Thank you.
So hanggang dito lang tayo mga tol. Maraming salamat sa panonood at patuloy na suporta. God bless you sa inyo lahat at hanggang sa muli. Paalam.